for the LinkedIn Live, the Quintessence of Leadership. And so let me explain a little bit about what this is. This is leadership unfiltered, right? I believe leadership is an action word. And we talk about not just in the boardroom, but beyond the boardroom. So my name is Delicia Houston, and I am your leadership and culture advisor. And we are just going to get this conversation started. But before we do, I need to introduce you to the amazing Dr. Delicia Haynes, and you will hear me call her Dr. D. That is just all of us that know her. That is who she is. She responds to that. So I did prepare her little bio so I wouldn't forget a few things that I wanted to include. So meet Dr. D, Dr. Delicia Haynes. She's a physician, a speaker, an award-winning business coach, and the founder of Family First Health Center. That is the first, y'all hear me, the first direct primary care clinic in Volusia County, Florida. So she resides in Florida. She's also an author of two different writings. One is called The Dawn, and the other is her inspirational Daybreakers Journal, which I highly recommend both. And she's absolutely passionate about transforming healthcare, making it more personal, more affordable, and more accessible. And we all know that is so important today. She has also supported countless other physicians in building their practices to align with their unique purpose of who they are in the world through her course, Direct Primary Care Prescription for Success. Don't you love that name? Prescription for Success. And this is something that we're also going to talk about today. As the creator of White Coat Safe Space, she's a fierce advocate for physician wellness and suicide prevention. Whether she's on stage with a patient or coaching a peer, Dr. Haynes always leads with purpose and impact. And here's a little fun fact about her. She absolutely enjoys, listen, y'all, and if you meet her, she's really a petite little lady. She enjoys sculling. That's how you pronounce it, right? Sculling. Yes, sculling. Listen, she's salsas and she bachatas, y'all. She loves it. And she fully believes in living from the inside out. So let's welcome Dr. Delicia Haynes today. Yay! Hey, Dr. D, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm excited you're here. So I think I want to, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to start with White Coat Safe Space, that initiative that you have created, that you have pioneered and championed, that you have spoken to other physicians about in med school and all of these things. Can you share with us a little bit how White Coat Safe Space came to be?
Absolutely. So first, what it is it's an initiative aimed at increasing awareness, advocacy, and prevention of physician suicide and helping all healers love the life that they live. My kind of higher calling is to help people fall so in love with their life that they never want to end it. And I was with you when I actually came up with, when I just spoke from the heart and that came out.
Yeah.
So White Coat Safe Space, really is very personal. I was a medical student, and I had to take some time off to be treated for depression. I was upset because it wasn't the first time. It was, it was actually my second episode of major depression, but this time I was in medical school, and I felt like I should be immune to this. I'm in medical school. I know how to diagnose depression. I should be immune. This shouldn't, affect me. I, took time off to be treated. And when I took that time off, we had 5 deaths in my family, from my grandfather to my 3-month-old niece. And when I came back, everybody else said she had 5 deaths in her family and then she got depressed. And I just kind of let them run with that, even though that wasn't the order that it happened in.
Yeah.
Because everyone felt like you had to have like a reason, for it to happen. And it just couldn't be like a chemical thing.
Yeah.
Obviously I was in medical school. I was under tremendous stress, lots of isolation, lots of sleep deprivation, all of those things as well. And I felt alone. I thought I was the weak link. I thought I was the only one that was struggling. And I did, graduate from medical school. I ranked at my #1 residency here down here in Daytona Beach, where I reside.
Wow.
And I had to do a grand rounds report, which is just a big speech that you give in front of your colleagues. And I chose the topic of suicide and depression amongst physicians. And in preparing for that, just the blinders came off and realizing that physicians have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession, and that 30% of medical students are depressed. And I was just like, why isn't anyone talking about this? Like,
Yeah.
everyone should know before they enter the house of medicine that you're at risk. This is an occupational hazard.
Yes.
And so when that happened, I felt a little bit less alone, but I also didn't want to become known as the doctor, the depressed doctor.
Yes.
I graduated, I started my own practice, and obviously building a reputation and building a practice, I just wasn't comfortable with being known for that. And granted, it's kind of one thing that I dealt with. It's not obviously my entire identity.
Right.
Right. So it wasn't until we lost both my best friend to suicide and a medical student to suicide that I really was like, okay, my silence isn't saving anybody. This is something that needs to be talked about. And that was, it didn't have the name White Coat Safe Space at
Right.
that point, but in terms of like, just really, getting prepared to write the book and to later kind of like launch the organization, that's where its foundings came from.
Wow, wow. And I thank you for that and just the level of transparency that we're going to have on this conversation today because so many people, to your point, right? We that is just a piece of what we may be navigating, a piece of what we're dealing with, and we don't want to become known for this one part of a challenge that we are experiencing in our lives. But what I'm hearing from your challenge is that it has created an initiative that has gained momentum. It has gained um, notoriety. You have spoken at other medical schools and you have been before other medical students, and your demonstration of vulnerability and transparency with your own journey has allowed others to come forward as well. Can you speak a little bit more to how what it was for you, because this is what leadership looks like, right? It's a demonstration of you go first. That's what it is, and it's not always comfortable. So what were some of the things internally that you were navigating, the conversations, the personal conversations that you were navigating, that somebody may be listening or experiencing, that they may be feeling some type of shame or loneliness, that you were moving through that allowed you to finally come forward? Can you share with us some of that personal angst that you were dealing with? Yeah.
Absolutely. So, obviously there's always a concern when you're sharing, what you're going through of like, what are the ramifications of this going to be? Professionally, with my patients, with my colleagues, my loved ones, just,
Yeah.
everything. But I think the decision for me, at some point, your love has to become greater than your fear.
Mm.
And I think when, when I lost my friend, and when I, kind of stared into the eyes of the medical student who was also lost,
Mm.
um, and I just thought about the conversations I wish I'd had.
Yeah.
Because my friend only knew my wins. He only knew me at the top.
Yeah.
He didn't know about any of the valley stories.
Mm.
I think that, when we talk about all the things that we've accomplished, and I'm very proud of my accomplishments, and those are just, as much of me as the valleys, because the valleys are what really prepared me to be able to go up the mountain. So,
Yes.
but I really think it's you have to get to a point where your love and your desire, Trump just is greater than your fear.
Yeah, yeah. I really appreciate that because we all navigate these quiet conversations internally, right? We all, how much should I share? How much shouldn't I share? Where do but what am I called to do versus what am I called to hold back? So I think that is very relevant as we are professionals, right? And we do have a persona and for lack of a better term, a professional brand that we want to be mindful of as well, but we also know we're called to impact. And it's through the sharing of the peaks and the valleys that we bring about the most impact is what I'm hearing from you, right? We see the highlight reels on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok or whatever, all these different platforms. We see all the highlight reels, but I think it's also equally as important to share them responsibly now, our valleys as well, right? And because it is in that calling that you are now walking in with White Coat Safe Space, that initiative, with your book, The Dawn, with your journal, right? All of these things are cohesively coming together to help individuals, physicians, I know is the focus, but all individuals live better lives. And that is because you decided, y'all hear me, she made an intentional decision to choose something different, to choose something hard, to choose something difficult, to stand even though she knew she could possibly be judged. So with that, would you share some of the work that you are doing with medical schools and with medical students, and I'm sure some of the like you said, lead with love. Some of the love I'm sure you've received in return that you didn't even know was going to come your way through you being willing to say yes to this calling.
Absolutely. So the very first time I spoke, it was actually shortly after that medical student passed away, and I contacted the dean, the local dean of the campus, and I said, I need to come in and talk to your students, and you can't be in the room.
Yeah.
And because of my relationship with him, he trusted me enough to, just go in and, and I just sat on a stool and I just told my story.
Mm.
Because they knew me as, Dr. Haynes, the founder and CEO, and the first DPT doctor, and all the things. And I took them back to my second year of medical school. And at the time, they were third year students, and they actually were classmates of the young man who had passed away. And it was it was it was so powerful in that I shared with them the things that I wish had been in place,
Yeah.
just making a mental health check-in a normal thing that we
Mm.
do in medical school. And you just have this appointment. If it lasts 5 minutes, that's great. If it needs to last hours, that's also great. And just really normalizing that we understand this is a professional risk, and we need to treat it as such. And I'm really proud of Florida State University College of Medicine. They actually instituted that. And
Wow.
so the students who, this was 2017, um, and the students who have come since then, they just know it as normal. It's just something that they do. Um, so being a part of that was definitely a student led, thing. And I'm so proud of those students who are now, my colleagues.
Yes.
And I really enjoy speaking at medical schools. That is definitely a passion of mine, but also speaking to my colleagues, my professional colleagues who, everyone thinks that we've arrived because
Hmm.
we, have our practices or we have our jobs or our
Yeah.
positions,
Yeah.
and not recognizing what you sacrifice and what you give up on a daily basis.
Right.
So being able to inspire them and speak with them and help them kind of see another way of doing things, because
Yes.
sometimes you do have to change the way you do medicine. If medicine is a calling for you, it's not that you give up the calling; it's
Mm.
that you change how you do it. And so
Mm.
really helping a physician to do just that.
I love that. So this is leadership, right? Like you saw a need and you said, you know what? I'm picking up the phone. And you spoke to this dean. And then you had the opportunity with these medical students. And then from that conversation, from that initiative that you took within yourself, something new was birthed. Something that now is the norm for others, but that did not exist just 6 years ago, 7 years ago, but now is the norm for others. That is powerful, people. I want you to hear that. Your silence is not going to bring about the change. It is your advocacy. It is your moving forward. It is your participation in what is required in the future of whatever industry, whatever organization, whatever community that you are a part of. And I'm so grateful, Dr. Delicia, that you have just continued to hold the torch and to keep running with it and to just not give up, because I know that on the horizon for 2026, as you spoke, that there a lot of physicians do need their own safe spaces for a different type of conversation, to have dialogues that may look differently. So I know that you are creating this safe space in the form of a retreat for these physicians to come in 2026. And so I'm really excited because I have many friends that are also physicians, that speak a lot of what you say, just the anxiety, the angst, and in this time and in this season, just so much that they're dealing with in private practice, right? And especially women, and then women of color, and then just physicians in general. So I'm so excited that this is something, that an initiative that you're taking up, to allow physicians to have this safe space to converse, to create, to be able to pull their masks off, right? And to just be just who they are, because they are the physician to everyone else, right? Because they've arrived, they've made it, they've done the work. They like, oh, what are you complaining about, right? But the heaviness that also comes with that space of being an advocate, of being someone who stands in the gap for your patient, sometimes for having to deliver different types of conversations. So I would love, can you tell us a little bit about I want you to tell us a little bit about your book, and then I want you to share a little bit about your journal. And I don't know if you have it with you, if you can just lift it up and just show it to us. And what was the inspiration behind that? Because I know that is the newest work, right, to kind of be published. But tell us a little bit about the Dawn and about the journal. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, The Dawn is the first publication. So it's a book, and it's about physician wellness. It's about physician suicide, and it's also
Mm,
my personal story. So it starts off with me as a suicidal teenager, and then going to medical school and having another episode and becoming kind of that wounded healer.
yeah.
Um, and then, kind of follows me through starting my own practice, and then realizing I built my own prison.
Mm,
And then that transition of like, okay, the calling is still there, but how I'm doing it needs to change, in my transition to direct primary care and becoming the first direct primary care in our area.
wow.
Um, and along the way, it also is full of all of the statistics and everything that I had researched initially when I did that Grand Rounds presentation. Because physicians are scientists, so we want the numbers. And so at the end of, so it goes back and forth between the personal share and the personal story and the
Mm,
numbers.
yeah.
So
Yes.
it gives you a bit of both. And what I love is hearing back from people who have read it, and had several physicians who've sponsored it for medical schools, for like the entire incoming class of medical
Wow.
schools. And
Wow.
that's one of the big initiatives that we are, starting now, kind of gearing up for the white coat ceremonies that'll be starting this summer.
Yes.
Um, and people will say that they know that they're not alone, and
Mm,
that they know that what they should be doing, what they can do to give themselves the best chance of not having an episode of depression while they're in medical school and training and beyond. Um, so that's the book, and the book is definitely a labor of love. I
yeah.
actually wrote it as my mother was passing away,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I love it. And then the planner, really, I was with you and
Mm-hmm.
others, and
Mm-hmm.
going through a certification program and learning all these amazing things, and recognizing that I don't have a container for this. So
Right.
there's, who I want to be in the world, what I need to do on a daily basis, the growth that I want to see in my life, and like,
Yeah.
how do I kind of bring that into a daily practice.
Yes.
And so I ended up kind of creating what I needed.
Yeah.
The planning journal, it has areas where you can just kind of like free write, and then it has like the daily exercises, the morning savers
Mm,
exercises, and um, just things that you're proud of, things that you're looking forward to, people
yeah.
you need to connect with and follow up with,
Yes.
um, all of those things, that the priorities, so that you focus on your priorities and don't get stuck in your to-do list.
Right.
And it was, just another one of those things. And of course, that one I do have like right next to me.
Yes.
because it's very easy for me to kind of get, for all of us to get, stuck in the mire of like all of the little things that we need to do and forgetting about, okay, my bigger calling, bigger purpose, the things that are really going to move the needle are actually over here. And
Mm,
making sure that I'm doing a little step in that direction first
yeah.
before I kind of go and, go through emails and get distracted by, you know, all the other things.
All the things, right? All the things the
Mhm.
day has to bring us.
Right.
And I love that what you said, like this journal, it just allows us to focus on what's really important because we can get stuck in the muck, as I say, and we can get stuck in a moment and what I like to call it is just we get stuck in the pit, and the pit is an acronym for simply a point in time. And sometimes we need these tangible tools that you've created that remind us of what's really important, that remind us of why we took up the mantle in the first place, remind us of why we keep moving and saying yes, even in the face of adversity and heavy pushback at times. So that's why I absolutely love that journal that you have created, that and hear me, people, and I love that she's created it's for a 90-day period. So it's that 90-day, just like let's get moving, let's remain focused, let's really stay moving, and let's honor who we are too as a person. What do I require in this moment? Maybe I require some rest, and maybe I require some just reminding, oh, that is who you are. Like you said, I just love what you said in the beginning, just how much, just everything is infused with love. And the world needs more love. Humanity needs more love. Just more conversation, more caring, more empathy, more compassion. And you remind me of that with the journal, because I was traveling recently, just a few weeks ago, and I had your journal in my backpack, and I was writing in it in the airport because the flight was delayed, and I was like getting angry because it got delayed like 4 times. And so I was like, okay, so pull out your journal. And this one woman, we were just talking, and she was talking about how, the lane, so it was Delta. And so you know how they have that 1 through 4 is priority, and then whatever 5 through 6. We just started talking about mindset and how it creates this level of priority. People have an inferiority or a superiority complex sometimes, and how this actually like this is like, oh, you're priority when you're 1 through 4, right? And you're subpar. Like it's just these subliminal messages. So she and I just had this lovely conversation, just sitting there, and I showed her your journal, and she was like, oh, wow, that is phenomenal. I was like, yes. I said, other stuff is personal. I can flip to the back and show you the rest back here. And she laughs. And we're just having this dynamic conversation, right? Spurred from delayed flights, right? We're all a little annoyed. Um, but also the journal, she sees me doing something, and from the willingness to just have a human conversation and a human interaction. And I think so much of that is missing. And when you have tools like this journal that remind you of really what's important and why we say yes to this work anyway, and what do I need to do to support myself in this work? Like, do you need to rest? Do you need to just call a friend, right? Do you need to just have a glass of tea and just sit there, or have a glass of wine and just laugh at something you did that day that like was kind of cuckoo, but you're like, well, that's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. Just giving ourselves more grace. And that's what I really equate all the work that you do, even Dr. D, even with direct primary care, right? It is giving ourselves grace to do medicine different than what we may have been taught or brought up in. And we love that everyone is moving in their lane, whether they're a part of a larger system, healthcare system, or if they're doing something on their own. But giving yourself the grace and the space to do it your way, whatever it looks like, and understanding that that opportunity is there. So I appreciate the work that you're doing, the work, and that you have these spaces for your peers and your colleagues to have this conversation with you too. And so with that, I know you do some speaking, you speak on various stages, and so you speak at colleges, you speak to peers, you speak just all over. And so I would really like anybody who is listening, if you or you know someone who's a medical school, definitely reach out to Dr. Haynes because our students deserve this. And they're our healthcare providers, they're the future. They deserve this level of support and honor and a space to just be. And so, Dr. D, I cannot glance over the fact of what you stated of when you were writing The Dawn, is when your mother was really in a space of soon to be transitioning. Um, how did you push through in writing The Dawn and finishing it during such a challenging season for yourself? Yeah.
I think part of it, well, obviously the work was it's dedicated to her. She's over my shoulder right there.
Oh,
Um, so
mm,
um, she's all over my clinic, so people act up like my mom is watching you.
that's right.
But I think that I actually needed a little bit of a distraction from
Mm,
what was happening.
yeah.
Um, and I was very upset at the time with some of the decisions that her medical team made,
Yes.
and I needed to have some empathy to go along with my upsetness. Um, and that this work helped me to kind of balance both. I still had to kind of show up and show out a little bit
Yes.
sometimes when things weren't done that should have been done.
Yeah.
And also recognize that I understand what they're going through,
Mm,
and what they're up against. But it was, and it wasn't done in a silo. And I think that's really important too, is that we hold up individualism, but the truth is we all need teams.
yes, we do.
Um, and so I was actually in a coaching program that in order to graduate, you actually had to write a book.
Mm,
So the question was not if you were going to write one, it was what your topic was going to be,
yes.
if you wanted to. And so myself and several of my colleagues were kind of collectively and individually
Mm,
working on our work, and everyone was kind of doing theirs according to their passion and their gift and what they want to do in the world. So just not doing it alone.
yeah.
I had my accountability partner who to this day is still, I still call her AP.
I love it.
Um, and,
Love it.
so making sure that you're not going it alone.
Yeah, that is so important. That is a huge leadership lesson, right? Community, being aligned with the right people and not being siloed in leadership because we've heard it can be lonely at the top. And leadership is your own practice, your own business, you're a higher level individual within the organization. It can be lonely if you allow it to be. So it's seeking out and finding that right community, that right support that I'm hearing you had. And like you said, your AP, your accountability partner, you all are still very close today. And that is really powerful. And then also in that very challenging time of mom, going through the transition and dealing with all of her medical care as well. Um, and balls being dropped, right? We know things of that nature. Very challenging. So it almost sounds like it was cathartic and it was very required, as you said, in that season. That's almost a little bit of a diversion, but still being able to help others as they move through their own journey. Because this, like you said, it was a labor of love, and your heart and your soul are in this work. It's very obvious, and it's quite obvious that it's in everything you do. So as we are closing, Dr. D, first I thank you. I thank you for your vulnerability and your transparency today and your willingness to share because I'm sure your words will touch someone else who needs to hear and know that they are not alone. And so I want to Yes, first, I want to also tell people how to find you, but first, I want to know what are words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with today before we part?
Well, the quote from Lisa Nichols that I just always loved, always spoke to me is the fill your cup and serve from your overflow.
Mm,
And that's actually, I had a picture of that drawn in the book. The
mm,
first time I heard it, it was just like, oh, I've been serving from my empty cup.
yeah.
I need that for me.
Yes.
And so now living more in line with, okay, let me fill my own cup, not just to the brim,
Mm,
to the overflow.
mm,
And then when I'm serving my patients, when I'm serving my family, I'm serving them from my overflow.
yeah.
And if I don't have overflow, I need to fill my cup more
Yeah.
and I need to make time for that. So, we say yes to so many things, and it's so important to say yes to yourself.
Ooh, come on. Ooh, now that is powerful, y'all. You hear what Dr. D said? Put yourself on your calendar. Say yes to you, and you serve from the overflow, not from your cup. Your cup is for you. That is for you. The overflow is for others. So thank you, Dr. D. How can people get in touch with you? Now you're watching us on LinkedIn. If that's where you're watching us, you're going to be able to follow her on LinkedIn. You can find her there. But Dr. D, how else can they find you? And we'll make sure to put this in the notes too. So tell us how else they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So their website is Dr. Delicia MD. That's DrDelicia.com. The planner is the Daybreakers Planner. .com is where you can get that. And then whitecoatsafespace.com is the organization as far as the Dawn book and working
Mm.
medical schools. And any of those will get them right to me.
I love it. Thank you again, Dr. Delicia Haynes, for your time today. Listen, y'all, we're keeping her from her patients, okay? So this is a big deal that she's taking time out with us. So thank you all for joining us as well. Don't forget to share this and tag someone who you think may need to hear this word today. Until next time, bye-bye. Thank you. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. Do you have some thoughts, comments, questions as well? Drop them below. I'd love to hear them and actually respond to you as well. Don't forget to hit that little bell that you see because it'll notify you next time any new opportunities are posted to this channel. So, thank you again. And until next time, remember, continue to build trust to transform, whether it's transforming your community, your home, your business, your workplace, your voice is required. Looking forward to seeing you then. Bye.